The house was big on the inside. It was decked out in traditional Egyptian decorations to make the girls feel more at home. It smelt of thick Egyptian incense. I was led to a back room. There were several girls in this room. 3 sets of bunk beds were placed in here. Surprisingly, this room was very spacious. I was given a bunk on the top, and my bed was by the bathroom door. I looked at the other women in this room. They looked tired, and some had bruises on their faces. They were in what looked like their underwear. They did not try to cover their bodies as a man opened the door and let me in. He stared at them a long moment and smiled.
It can be scary at first,
a woman that was slightly older than me said. She had a black eye. It looked like someone recently savagely beat her. She caught me staring at her eye. She turned away and placed my suitcase on the top bunk.
It's sad what happened to the girl who used to sleep there,
an older woman said. She wore pink panties and a bra. She laid on her stomach, flipping through a magazine. I did not understand why these women were dressed this way. Did they not care for modesty? I acted like I didn't hear her.
She is new. Give her a couple of days before you crush her dreams,
the woman with the black eye said. The older woman glared at her.
I am trying to help her. Look at her. She is innocent and probably thinks she was sent here for school. I'm tired of seeing girls being sent here and beat to death like Ashma for not wanting to be a hoe,
the older woman said. My face paled. I was not sent here for school? A girl died? I turned around to face them and demand to know what was going on, but the older woman grabbed my arms and twisted them behind my back. She held me down on the bed. One of the other girls put her hand over my mouth to muffle my screams. The woman with the black eye leaned down and whispered in my ear.
We are trying to help you. You can't go through this sober, and we can't watch another young girl from our country die,
she whispered in my ear. I saw a woman with a needle in her hand approach me. I did not know what was in it. I just knew I did not want it.
Don't put it in her arm. Tamak does not want her to have visible tracks,
the older woman said. She held me down. Another girl rubbed my cheek and kissed me on my forehead.
This will take all your pain away, girl,
the older woman said. I felt something sting in my leg. I screamed into the hands of the woman who was trying to silence me.
We are just trying to help you. This stuff will take you to the sky,
the older woman said. I cried and screamed for a moment more. Then it hit me. It felt like a wave of heat was beating against my flesh. My head spun and I sighed deeply. I thought of my father. I was running in the garden to him. His handsome smile was my world.
That's it. She's in the sky now,
the old woman said. My heart was racing. My head was pounding and my mouth was incredibly dry. I was awake, but I did not open my eyes yet. I had to take a moment to understand what had happened. The last thing I remember was being held down on a bed screaming. I remember being injected with something. I was in a bed on my back. I tried to lift my arm to wipe my mouth, but I couldn't. I had been drooling a lot and it had crusted all over my mouth. I opened my eyes to see that I was naked. My hands and feet were strapped to the bed. I looked around and there were many women around my age in the same situation I was in. There were IVs in our arms and someone was walking around injecting us with something. My vision was blurry. I wanted to scream, but my head hurt too much. Looking around made me dizzy. I turned to the side and vomited.
Fuck,
I heard a man grunt. He walked over to me and started to clean up my vomit. He was a man from my country. I could tell by the way he looked. Why would he do this to me? Did he not have any self-respect or honor? Our country was supposed to come first, before all else.
You're awake?
The man asked. He stared at my naked body for a moment, then roughly spread my legs apart and stuck his fingers in me. I screamed, and my head felt like it was going to explode.
That is right, bitch. In a few days, you will be dead or a zombie. Pleasing men for money.
The man laughed. He roughly shoved his fingers in and out of me. I was a virgin. I had never been with a man. I was saving myself for my husband. It was a virtuous thing to give your virginity to the man that would protect you, love you, and provide for you in your father's place. I hoped I would die. My head spun so much that I blacked out.
Fuck. This one dead.
A man said. I turned my head to see two men unstrapping a young woman and hauling her out of the room. We were not people to them. We were bits of flesh whose only use was to please men. They did not care that I had dreams, that I could cook, and that I had a big heart. They would laugh if they knew I loved to read, that I wanted to one day be a wife and, God willing, a mother. All that mattered to them was that I had a vagina. How could these men of my country do this to their own people? These honored warriors of Egypt. I could not understand how they could betray us so. My head spun as the men came back into the room. It seemed another woman died. They were hauling her body away as well. I felt a sharp slap across my face. I looked up and saw a familiar face. It was the face of the dark-skinned man I saw as I got out of the car. He smiled down at me. He pinched one of my nipples hard. I moaned in pain.
Damn, baby.
The man said. He started to unbuckle his pants.
Yo, give this bitch another dose.
He ordered my countrymen. They laughed and came over with a needle in their hand. The Egyptian leaned down and shot something into my IV. I instantly felt it. My body felt weak and numb. The dark-skinned man's face seemed to fade in and out of view. I saw as if I was in a drum that was being beat loudly. As the drum beat, my vision would shatter, then come back again.
I want you all to get a turn after I'm done, alright?
The dark-skinned man said.
Thank you, T-Mac.
One of the Egyptian men said, smiling.
And don't take it easy on this bitch. Be rough with her. She got to rip a bit.
T-Mac said. The Egyptian men smiled and high-fived each other. I felt T-Mac's hands force my legs open. They couldn't open very far, being that my ankles were strapped to the bed. He forced them open wide enough. I watched in horror as he pulled his manhood out and spit on it. I could not move. My entire body tingled, but as blurry as my vision was, I could still see everything. He placed himself inside of me and thrust hard. I could not feel anything. My body jerked every time he thrust. He reached down and roughly grabbed my chin.
Nah, bitch. You're gonna watch this.
T-Mac said. He held my chin firm, so I was forced to look into his eyes as he thrust into me again and again. I'm not sure when I blacked out, but I woke to the screams of other women. I turned to see T-Mac raping them as well. This is how it went for days. They would drug me and rape me. I lost track of time. I was so lost in the drugs. They would intentionally not give me the drugs for a day and laugh as I vomited and begged them for it. I would open my legs and beg them to fuck me just so I could have another hit of whatever they gave. Those drugs kept the pain away. It was a strange light in the darkness that became my life. They kept the monsters in my shattered mind at bay. I could not believe I was here. I was once a virgin girl who loved her father. Now I'm begging men to rape me for drugs. They had me. They had broken me. I don't know how long I was in that room or how long they drugged me up. After several more days, they let me out and back in the room I started in with the women that tied me down.